Going into our 10th season, coming off of our second Super Bowl win with the Seahawks over the Texans, there were a couple of significant retirements. People like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb at the same year is crazy for the Cowboys. Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie, and a bunch of other elite players ended up retiring this season. Fast forwarding to our pick, which was the last pick of the first round, I was really happy we drafted Corey Redding, a left tackle. He ended up being a 75 overall, and then Scooby Camp, an outside linebacker, as a 73, seemed to be pretty good as well. And then Joey Dalton, the corner, got drafted number 1 overall by the Niners. He was a 78 overall, the highest in the class. Right now we're ranked 8th in the legacy leaderboards behind Max Miller, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, who just retired, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. So we have a good shot of actually catching up to a number of these players. We'll have to wait and see. But this season, Ryan Alford is up to a 99 overall with 99 throw power. I think he's had 99 throw power his entire career. But fast forward to the playoffs, we did end up making the playoffs a consecutive year after just coming off of our Super Bowl victory. And Joe Baldwin had a great season with 1,300 receiving yards and 14 TDs. And Julio Jeffries also had a fantastic season, both leading the way at receiver. In our first round matchup in the wild card, we went to Green Bay to play against Brock Purdy and the Packers. I finished the regular season with 42 TDs to only 8 picks, coupled with 10 rushing touchdowns, which secured me another MVP, and we finished with a 12-5 record. So how are we playing on the road in the wild card? Well, Noah Fifita and the Rams won the NFC West and secured the 1 seed surprisingly. Despite not running the ball a lot with Dawson in the regular season, we felt we could run the ball in Green Bay and gave him a ton of touches, and once we got to the goal line, Malik punched it in to tie the game. With 3 minutes left in the second quarter, neither team had scored in a while, and I flirted with taking a safety, but I got outside the defensive end and followed my blockers up the field all the way to the 45-yard line. Despite that really nice run though, we ended up punting the ball, and we got the ball back with a little bit less than a minute remaining, and we were at the 50-yard line, and we ran a halfback screen, getting onto the Green Bay Packers side of the field with an opportunity to potentially put a score on the board before the end of the half to take the lead. And Joe Baldwin, having a great season for me, caught the ball over the middle between the safeties, and then later with 30 seconds remaining, caught a high point pass in the back of the end zone for the touchdown to give us a 7-point lead going into the half. To start the third quarter, we were running some play action and hit Joe Baldwin on the comeback route again, so a lot of consecutive catches, and at this point, I actually didn't have a single incompletion, going 8 for 8. There was some concern later on in this drive with Malik Dawson running out to his left and getting stripped, but he was clearly down before he lost the ball. Amari had kind of slowed down in production this season, and Joe Baldwin again beat his man on the outside, looked like a cover 2 look, and we found him for the nether touchdown. With a 24-7 lead, all we had to do was run out the clock, but Malik Dawson got injured, putting Isaiah Wynn, our backup running back, in for a lot of PT. On a halfback angle, I hit him for another first down pickup, and with 3 minutes left, we let him pick up another first down on the ground. 3 carries for 30 yards was pretty solid, so he seemed like he'd be pretty reliable. Later on, though, we did hit our crossing route receiver, getting us down to the 1-yard line. And putting up 350 yards in the 4th-ranked defense made us feel pretty good, and then we ran a read option. I kept it, and somehow trucked the defender on the edge, got into the end zone for the touchdown for the definitive 31-15 win over the Packers, and then we moved forward into the divisional against the New Orleans Saints. But the problem was, going into the game, Amari Huggins-Bruce was out yet placed on IR. To start the game, I did a great job running outside the pocket in the back of the end zone and then throwing a dime off the run to Joe Baldwin, getting us near the 50-yard line. And so it was really like clockwork in this game. The Saints were a fantastic team, but they were not a title contender. And they were definitely a good team, but we were just not worried about losing. We were probably the most confident away team that you could possibly get in the playoffs. It was really unfortunate for a lot of teams. Playing against a 12-5 team at home, no matter what, is always going to be challenging for another team. And we came in confident. And so it was tied 17-17, but on 3rd and goal, I ran into the end zone for a touchdown to take a 24-17 lead. And then when it was tied 24-24, all we had to do was set up with a field goal. We were on their side of the field at 35. We let Malik Dawson run the clock down before kicking the game-winning field goal to advance on to the NFC Championship game. And overall, Malik Dawson had a great game on the ground, 10 carries for 80 yards, and our running game had really sort of shown up in the playoffs, and Joe Baldwin with 6 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown, and Daniel Stark having a little bit of a contribution as well with the missing Amari Huggins-Bruce. But the biggest test would be the NFC Championship game against the Rams, the team that won the division, my biggest college rival in Noah Fifita. This would be a great opportunity to continue to build my legacy, but it was really ugly early. The Rams were at 14-0, and we failed to convert a 3rd and short on a run, and the Rams scored again, taking a 21-0 lead, and we had a minute left to put some points on the board because it was starting to get out of hand early. I'd only had 5 pass attempts up to this point. But Daniel Starks came out and had a massive catch to get us even into position for a field goal. And then I threw a cross body running to my right, finding Joe Baldwin wide open, continuing to find that connection in the playoffs for another score. And then later in the third quarter, we were down 28-7, but got 14 points on the board. But guess what? The Rams answered right back again. So we had to continue to put pressure on the Rams defense, putting up points as much as possible. We got down to the 1 yard line, a read option keeper. I did the same as last week, keeping it for myself for the score. And it was just starting to seem like we were making progress when I threw an errant pass over the top that was just slightly too high and ended up getting intercepted. But look at that pass. Trevor Knott was almost able to come down with it. It was between Spellman and Knott's hands, and ultimately that pick sealed the game. We lost 45-28, and I'm just going to be thinking about this game all off season. And I have to admit that Noah Fifita did outplay me. He had 3 touchdowns and no picks. I had that 1 bad interception, and a lot of receivers stepped up for the Rams. Daniel Stark had 3 catches for 100 yards. I feel bad we couldn't win it for him. And Julio Jeffries showed up. Joe Baldwin had a solid game. But I did end up making the Pro Bowl, got the #1 spot at quarterback, and then looking further down the list at wide receiver, Joe Baldwin was the wide receiver 1. That makes a lot of sense. Marshawn Ford gets tight end #2, Kyle Pitts tight end #3, and then J.J. Malone on D-tackle gets into the Pro Bowl, and Cameron Wilson, our former Louisville teammate at outside linebacker, made it, and then Sean Bell, the safety for the Niners, also made it. And then ultimately the Rams won the Super Bowl. I never wanted Noah Fifita to win a Super Bowl, but he outplayed us, and we have to live with that going into the following season.